How's it going? I'm actually out of town right now. So why do you ask? It's because aside from my degree, I'm actually also in a program that tries to connect graduate students and postdoc to the industry. And with that, they provide training programs in both professional and technical skills. So I'm here mostly, like I'm almost done with that program. So I'm here mostly with like the advanced stuff in the professional skills. And when I say professional, it means all those, what do you do intellectual property, how do you do project management or leadership or things like that. Which might not be something people think about when they are getting their PhD. Like it's not a typical part of a PhD training. And the reason this kind of program exists is because, well, most PhD students doesn't actually stay in academia. They go out into the industry. In physics in particular, there's a kind of, a dream of having your own startups and, making a tech company or things like that. So those kind of skills actually come into use in those cases. Although I would actually argue that even though you're not going to the industry or become an entrepreneur, create your own business, you actually kind of still need project management and leaderships and all those things, just in the context of academia, just to keep your work going. Because when you're a professor, what you actually do is you're actually leading a group of people who does a lot of projects, who has to deliver some values on the project they're doing, and you have to talk to investors. So, sounds like a natural fit, doesn't it? Now, I'm not saying that everybody needs the training necessarily. Some of us can just figure out what works for us in a work setting. But as for someone like me, who never actually have experience on those parts, this kind of programs kind of help a little bit, although I must admit that if I can do that without having to fly out here, that's probably a better scenario for everybody. So maybe I'm biased, but I recognize that I'm more willing to travel to get technical knowledge rather than getting knowledge in like project management and things like that. And it's probably because I recognize that with technical knowledge, you actually need to get it, if you can, from the expert in the field. So I'm kind of more willing to travel to them, whereas like project management stuff, it's kind of like everybody should know this stuff, right? Like there is some expert in your hometown you're supposed to be able to consult with, and I recognize that actually that might not be the case. Like somebody somewhere might be better than the people in my town at this kind of stuff. In any case, yesterday I took part in a workshop on pitching. I didn't actually pitch my research as a product, because my research, like, honestly cannot be made a product in and of itself. It's more fundamental in some ways, still like more engineering type, but yeah, more fundamental, like more like a foundation of a product rather than a product. So I pitch something else. So I pitch a software idea that I've actually been thinking about for some time now, and that's because that software is supposed to solve my pain point directly. And the thing is, once I pitched, I found out that it's also a lot of people's pain point too. So I know it's not advisable usually to broadcast an idea for your product or your business, but like I said, this is my pain point. If somebody can solve it, honestly. I don't have time to solve it, at least until I'm done with my PhD, and I kind of want them before I'm done with my PhD. So here's an idea. A lot of what we do as PhD students is actually to write papers, and these are what I think of as evidence-based writing. So you actually have to cite the statements that you make, and that's because, well, research is essentially standing on shoulders of giants, right? So we have to give proper credits to the people who come before us and acquire those knowledge for us. But the problem is, when you start learning things, then you start to forget where that source of knowledge actually comes from. And that's kind of natural for a human being because, well, our memory is not perfect, so we tend to forget things. But then that leaves an issue with other people who comes to read those stuff, is that they want to trace where this ideas comes from, but then they couldn't find it because somewhere along the line somebody forgets, and somewhere along the line you will forget which paper exactly that gives you the idea and what exactly was said and was the interpretation correct. And finding that statement again in like 200 plus papers that you might use in your thesis, let's say, it's really hard. So I was thinking it's probably better if we have a software to keep tracks of that for us. Also, even better if that software can actually format a citation for you exactly as you wanted it. And if you don't know, because you don't write papers, the issue we have with citations is that different journals actually give you different codes, like different kind of codes for their citations. Like Nature has .ris, which is formatted differently from what I use, which is BibTeX. And I have to do the conversion. And sometimes when you have like 10, 15, 25 plus author, you can't really format the author's name in the exact way that you want without losing a lot of time and productivity and being very frustrated. So it would be nice to have a software that kind of help keep track of that for you. So yeah, the idea is pretty vague, but that's kind of the stuff I want, so that I can be more productive in writing my papers and not wasting time just trying to find that one line that I don't remember where it comes from, or trying to format the reference for that one line, which have like 100 authors or something. If you're citing something from let's say CERN, from the Higgs boson experiment, that's even worse. Yeah, so that's not really my pitch. That's kind of more my story. And that would be all for today. So see you guys later.